So today we had a pretty productive day working on our Frontier project here. We got the cab back onto the chassis, as you can see. Pretty happy with the way everything came out. Had to make some adjustments to our mock coilovers to get the ride height where we wanted it, but we've got it there now and pretty happy with how the truck's sitting and how it looks. Obviously have some work to do on fender flares here. This thing is real wide, just as we wanted it to be. Obviously, with the body back on the truck now, I can start planning out all of the next phases of this build. So up until this point, I knew what I wanted to do for suspension, for the independent conversion in the rear, for the drivetrain, for the engine and the trans. All that stuff was figured out. But now what I need to do is figure out all of the engine bay, plumbing, and placement of all the components. You had seen maybe on some previous posts, videos, pictures on social media that we had some turbo headers on this, and right now obviously they're not there anymore. While they physically fit in the engine bay with everything where it needs to be, it forced me into like a turbo placement scenario that I wasn't really happy with. It was going to put the turbos too far forward and force me to run down pipes kind of in front of the accessories and under the motor, which keeps a lot of heat in the front of the engine bay, and I want to avoid that. So grabbed a couple manifolds that I had laying around the shop. We tried out some LS7 style manifolds. Right now we've got these C6 Corvette manifolds on there. These likely aren't going to end up being on there either, but I wanted to see kind of where some stuff laid out. I'm most likely going to end up with some truck manifolds or some truck shorty headers that we then modify to mount the turbos to. But that'll allow us to actually run the downpipes above the manifold and down behind the motor rather than around the front and underneath, which will keep heat away from the accessories, away from the cooling fans, and help the cooling system work more effectively in this setup. So that's the plan for that. Obviously in this video, we washed the underside of the body, prepped it, got some Pour 15 on some rust spots, and then painted the whole bottom of the truck. Just a rattle can paint job, but to clean it up, make it all the same color, make it look nice before getting the body back onto the truck. Then we got the body mounted back up. We used the plasma and cut out the inner fenders for two reasons. One, with how low the truck is, the front upper control arms would have actually come through the inner fender on compression travel on the suspension. Basically at ride height, the control arms are touching the inner fender. So we had to cut out the inner fenders to give the necessary room there for up travel on the suspension. Additionally, it's going to give us some more flexibility on turbo air filter placement and intercooler pipe routing and all those kind of things. So it's also the truck's more of a showpiece. I'm going to drive it on the street, but it's not a daily, so I'm not worried about dust and debris in the engine bay that much with how little mileage it's going to see. And when I'm at shows and things with this truck, you'll be able to like look right in and see all of the independent suspension components, the all-wheel drive stuff. It'll be something right in your face to say, hey, this truck's all-wheel drive, just by peeking under the hood, which I think is pretty cool. Otherwise, everything's fitting exactly the way I thought it would. There's plenty of room above this Holley high ram intake to either run one of Holley's hats on it, but honestly, I want to make my own billet hat. I'm going to get the 3D scanner out, scan the inside of the engine bay, and figure out what kind of space I have and make my own hat for this, possibly with a twin throttle body setup, just because I can and I'd like to, and I like designing stuff and making stuff, and it'll be fun. Will it need the airflow of two throttle bodies? No, it won't, especially at the power level I'm at, but hey. Some of the other things, obviously the truck is super wide, which is exactly what I wanted. The tires poke out like 8 inches on each side. That's what I was going for with these 325s at all four corners. I'm going to have to make some custom fender flares in order to do that, in order to make that all work. Again, I'll probably do some 3D scanning of the fenders as well to see exactly what I can come up with design-wise. I'll probably post some renderings and things like that to kind of get some input, but I have some ideas on what I want. Right now, the plan for this truck has actually kind of changed a bit from when I first conceived the project. So originally I was going to build a complete, like, I'm going to take this to road courses, go racing, trailer queen, completely gut it, put a full cage in it, no AC, none of that stuff, and just, you know, have essentially a race truck. honestly, I have to be more realistic about the time I have in my schedule and my life, having a family and 2 jobs and all that stuff. So essentially, scaling it back a little bit. And what I mean by that is still twin turbo, obviously still all-wheel drive, wild looking crazy, but probably just going to get a 6-point roll bar. It's not going to be fast enough to need a full cage anyway, and it's going to keep AC. And I know that may seem crazy to some. A lot of the interior is going to be in there still, no carpet. I'll do rhino lining or something on the floor, but going to try to keep the creature comforts, power windows, and all that stuff in it. Mainly because I think I want to do hot rod power tour with this in 2021 is the goal. If I'm going to be driving from track to track or venue to venue for these car shows, autocrosses, and things like that, I want to have air conditioning. I want to be comfortable, and I'm going to drive it. That's probably the most miles that this will ever get put on it, other than just me taking it around to local meets around the shop here. That's changed plans now. I was going to do a rear mount rad. No longer going to do that. Going to do a front mount rad. We've got plenty of room for it. So basically, we're going to have a front mount rad, AC condenser, front mount intercooler up front, traditionally mounted, nothing crazy. And then out back in the bed, I'm going to mount the engine oil cooler, transmission cooler, and power steering cooler. Definitely need a big beefy power steering cooler on this. Turning these giant tires all the time. That's the plan right now. I've got a lot of stuff to figure out now. Before, when we were working on the truck and getting all the suspension stuff done and the driveline stuff done, that was pre-established plans with parts purchased that I had 95 to 99% certainty would work. So it was putting stuff together that I knew would work. Now it's figuring stuff out again. So the updates aren't going to be as dramatic changes from video to video. It's going to be more me talking through some of the stuff that we're figuring out on this truck as we're going along. I hope you can appreciate that. And it's probably going to be at least another 3, 4, 5 months before this truck's done. But this is where we're at right now. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and checking out this build. I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are too. If you can, like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, share the whole build series with your friends and see what they think. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care.